Hello everyone, hope I am audible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
A warm welcome to today's session, that is the fifth day of FDP, that is on research methodology for social sciences, tools, techniques, and
The bell. Sorry.
Okay. I'll just start with a quote. Let today be the start of something new. With this quote, I, Avinash MA, Assistant Professor, Vidyavardhaka College of Engineering, Department of Business Administration, on behalf of our Department Business Administration and VPCE, take this privilege in welcoming our beloved HOD and also the first speaker of this session, Dr. PSV Balaji Rao, for today's FDP. Welcome you, sir.
Good morning, Avinash, and all.
Very good morning, sir. Yes, sir.
Participants.
Now I am happy in welcoming our other resource person of the day, Dr. Kartika P. and Dr. Narayan Swami T. Welcome, madam. Welcome, sir. In his absence, I welcome our respected principal, Dr. Sadashiva Gowda. And it's my immense pleasure in welcoming all the participants and my dear colleagues to this FDP. Welcome all. Hope I am audible to all.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. This FDP was initiated with a basic objective of giving awareness and importance of how research methods and data analysis have become an essential part in the major areas of social sciences research, and provide hands-on session using SPSS software. Right. This FDP was started on 24th August. On 24th August, the first session on identification of research problem was handled by Dr. Narayan Swami and Dr. B. Gopal Singh. The second session was taken over by Dr. Narayan Swami on data entry and data preparation using SPSS. On 25th August, the second day, it was all about e-resources for literature review and reliability tests and descriptive analysis handled by Dr. Sunil MV and Dr. Kartika P respectively. On day 3, that is 26th August, the first session was on selection of objectives, formulation of hypothesis, qualitative and quantitative research, and the resource person for this session was Dr. Jayashree Krishnan. And later the session was on hypothesis testing, parametric tests using SPSS by Dr. Somshekhar IC. Yesterday, fourth day of FDP was on sampling designs by Dr. Shallu Batra, and later on hypothesis testing, non-parametric tests using SPSS by Narayan Swami T. Today, it's all about the fifth day. It's all about measuring scale and questionnaire development in the first session and correlation and regression analysis using SPSS in the second session. And I have to mention over here, with the support of all the participants, till now our FDP is well acclaimed and we expect the same in the future too. Now, not taking much of your time, I would like to introduce the first resource person of the day, that is Dr. PSV Balaji Rao. PSV Balaji Rao holds PhD in Human Resource Management from Sri Venkateshwara University, Andhra Pradesh, experienced professor with demonstrated history of working in education management industry, skilled in research, analytics, entrepreneurship, consultancy, educational leadership, and lecturing. He has more than 20 years of experience, out of which 10 years from industry. His main teaching and research expertise are in the areas of business analytics, strategic management, and human resource management. Dr. PSV Balaji Rao had worked in esteemed organizations like Venkateshwara University and held various positions over there. Currently, he is working as professor and head in the Department of Business Administration at Vidyavardhaka College of Engineering, Mysuru. He has published more than 20 articles, research articles in various reputed national and international listed journals. It is indeed my privilege in welcoming our HOD sir for this session. Sir, welcome you, sir.
So thank you, Avinash. Thank you very much.
Now the session is up to you, sir.
Okay, right.
Thank
So
you
I
very
can
much, sir.
see now?
Yes, sir, definitely, sir.
Is my PPT visible, Amma?
Yes, sir.
Is my PPT visible?
Just a minute, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It is visible, sir.
It's visible.
100%.
Right. So, very good morning to all the participants, and I believe a bright day for you all to start with. And this is being the 5th day. I'm very much overwhelmed by the support what all the participants are extending, and I am very much happy to see that every participant is eager in learning. Well, all these days we had done our best, bringing out the best resource persons and all for the benefit of your learning and successful completion of your research endeavors. Today, I'll put my part of knowledge sharing with respect to the title. What was given to me is on to talk to you and share my knowledge with respect to questionnaire design and the measurement scales. Anyway, my other partner will be dealing with that. But since both are interrelated, it is important for me to mention here. So friends, why do we do research? And why is this research needed? And well, to address this, I think all 5 days, all the speakers might have gone with telling you the purpose of research, importance of research, and all other things. Well, basically, we all agree that research is nothing but unfolding the truth and something which we feel is latent and which we bring it out through our efforts and through a constructive research work by a scholar. And the latent truth which comes out is in the benefit of mankind and for the entire environment. So this is what research is all about. And all the previous days, what you learned is on one side a kind of what called a matrix. And today, what you learn or what we share is going to be the crux and core of any research. As I was telling, research is unfolding truth. Then we need a kind of a mechanism of unfolding that truth, and for that we need some instruments. So one such important instrument which a scholar uses is, especially in academics, they use in questionnaire design. So today I'll be talking to you about the questionnaire design, and so the learning objectives will be all like initially I'll go with overall view of a questionnaire and what the content or what are the components in it.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I have a request for the participants, sir. Sir, participants, kindly mute your device audio and video, kindly.
Sure.
Okay, sir. Sorry for the interruptions. You can just continue, sir. Thank you, sir.
And Avinash, since mine PPT is completely full screen, if
Yes,
any
sir.
questions from the participants, kindly help me in sharing it out. Okay.
Definitely, sir. Definitely,
Yes.
sir. I'll do that.
The participants also to keep interacting so that
Okay.
the session goes fruitful. In fact, I also learned a few things from you all. Well, as I was telling you, the very learning outcome of this session will be that I'll be talking to you about the entire overview of questionnaire design and the various components associated with designing of a questionnaire or an instrument. And basically, let me tell you that there are three important phases in any questionnaire design or development, or else for that matter, any instrument. Well, in such case, the first one is called pre-composition phase, where a researcher will completely have a clarity on the requirement specifications. And the third phase is all about composition phase, which we call it as a creation phase or the process of developing a questionnaire. And the fourth phase is called post-composition phase, or which we call it as an editing phase, after which administration of a questionnaire happens. Well, let me start with defining what a questionnaire is. As I was just telling you, that it's an instrument that is used to unfold some latent truth. Well, and therefore, as I said, questionnaire is an instrument. And this instrument is basically for pooling of information. Well, any research starts, and in order to justify ourselves, we should have enough information to prove what our point of view or what our point perception is true. And hence, questionnaire is that tool that helps us to pool a pool of information. And that is done through a formalized procedure with a predetermined or a pre-specified set of questions, so that it will obtain or it will collect or it will reveal or retrieve the best of the best and sensitive information from the respondents. So that is how questionnaire is a research instrument used for information pooling, having formalized and pre-specified set of questions designed to obtain responses from potential respondents. Now, let's go and have a look into the overall components of a questionnaire design. Well, a questionnaire is basically is broadly classified based on its nature of application. Well, any research or a questionnaire is one which is used to draw information, one about individuals or their personalities, which we call it as a psychological in nature. The questionnaire is an instrument that is used to measure the individual's personality or behavior. The other kind of questionnaire is one which is applied in random on a group, and which we call it as the sociological in nature. And the examples what I can quote is all about the survey what we do before a poll happens in any state or in any country, and a general trend that we found with respect to through a survey about the future of what called the demand for a product, etc., etc., where not an individual but individuals on a group in a group is considered. So because this actually is the basis from where we start to understand what kind of instrument is this, what kind of scales or measurements to be used, and finally it also helps us to analyze. Well, the other part is all about what is the tool used for, what kind of information it has to extract. So one of the information what we say, we classify it as attributes. So when I say attributes, it's nothing but the demographic factors here. That is the age of an individual, color, height, gender, education qualification, etc. Now, a questionnaire is also used to measure the actions and reflections of an individual. That is what in a given instance or created a scenario, how does an individual respond? That we call it as a behavior. Instead, the behavior which we observe is in the form of actions and reflections. So questionnaire is that tool which can also helps us, or which helps us to collect that kind of information related to business behavior. And also it helps us to find facts or to pull information concerned with knowledge. And lastly, it also helps us to retrieve information related to attitude and behavior, opinions. See, I told in the previous case actions and reflections as behavior. When I am talking about attitude and opinions, this is a case of sensitive information which normally nobody discloses honestly given a contest, unless until it is forced or they find a mutual benefit. So attitude and opinions are that kind of information which are very sensitive in nature, which a questionnaire will retrieve and make our process of research very easy. And then later, all these days, you are hearing about it, and that is the type of data is also one of the important component in the designing of a questionnaire, like categorical, nominal, ranked, and continuous, also like numerical data or anything which is represented in a form of a number. And then the other part is all about also how does the respondent will respond to us. Now, given a questionnaire, how is that he responds? Now, based on the type of response, our options or the what we call it as the what you call the type of scale we will be implementing. So normally when it comes to questionnaires and questions and type of response, there will be two types. Questions are based on type of response. One is open questions. Open questions allows a user or a respondent to express himself uh, thoroughly, and he brings out his creativity in it. And those kind of questionnaires also do need, especially with respect to behavioral analysis and maintaining and with respect to measuring cognitivity, intelligence, etc. Now, when it comes to closed-ended responses, that the researcher himself will confine a responder to not to deviate the boundaries, and he'll be giving a set of options. And a researcher, a respondent is supposed to answer within that limits. And as you all know, dichotomous saying yes or no, or two states of answering. Then again, a multiple choice questions, then Likert scales, and we also develop inventories. So this is how based on the type of response, again, the questionnaire design is dependent on. And the other part of that is design and layout. Now, the design and layout is all about the ergonomics regarding usage of questionnaire, or the way how respondent responds to. That basically talks about what is the layout, how much is it in a booklet form, or is it in something what we see a web-based form. What kind of layout is it pleasing? Will it encourage the audience, the respondent to eagerly create enthusiasm to in him to answer? All these things are one which back again included in this questionnaire design. So there is a clear set of instructions which need to be there in a questionnaire. That is the different parts of a questionnaire is what I am referring to, and the statements and its relevance, and the sequence of arranging the questions, and lastly creating interest in that particular respondents, is all that is included in this questionnaire design. So friends, all these 5 phases or 5 components are very important in understanding or in designing an appropriate questionnaire that helps us to get the information what we need. So now, what are the advantages of a questionnaire? Well, we do have, as I said, various types of instruments. Questionnaire is that instrument where comparatively it is less inexpensive or inexpensive, and it is more practical, and it gives the user respondent to take his own time, give him the time to think and respond, and also the interpretation or the analysis of the results of the pooled data information. The analysis of the information is also very easy with respect to questionnaire, where it is completely biased free of the researcher, and also it is scalable, that quite easily everything what the items or the instrument used is scalable to justify what exactly the information is, though the informations are the behavior what we see is latent in nature. as I was telling you, easy to analyze, yeah, and it is very much valid and reliable if at all, if the instruments or the instrument is developed on a very formal basis. These are, we can develop a standardized instrument. And also, as I said, there is no pressure on a respondent to respond immediately. And the other one is all about respondents anonymity, means the respondent need to disclose his personal identity, therefore have a full freedom of expressing himself. Now, these are a few advantages. Now, when I discuss about the disadvantages, there is a chance that the respondent may not be honest with respect to giving answers. And at times, this is what every scholar will face, is all about not all the questions are filled by the respondents. And well, the question what was designed is may not reflect the same perception what the researcher have perceived when it comes to the respondent's end. So a researcher might have perceived a question and might have framed a question. Now, from the respondent point of view, the same perception may not arise, and hence there is a chance he misinterprets and gives an answer which is not actually the true one. And lack of nuance, there are chances that the respondent may not be a true respondent or a true sample for us, but yet they keep answering. There is also a chances like this with questionnaire type of instruments, because the researcher will not be always there with the respondent, because the respondent answers in a different location, a researcher in a different location, and a lot of intermediaries between the researcher and the respondent. And also analysis of issues again, in the same information what was projected may be interpreted in a different ways and different what called perceptions. And then the hidden agenda, what is the hidden agenda behind the respondent being for the reason of answering will not be clearly known, as the impact of face-to-face interaction is lacking or is in absence. See, when we write, it is different, but when I interact directly, I can understand whether the respondent is honest in giving his answers or responding to the questions. So that's a big limitation of what we call questionnaire instruments, and lack of personalization. And see, that doesn't need to be a kind of accountability or a kind of responsibility among the respondent while answering. Just somebody, as we put an obligation on them, they tick all the questions without reading the items at all, and the responses will come out in a different way. And also at times unconscious responses, and then accessibility issues. Though the right respondent is there, the researcher might not be, maybe having some obstructions to reach to the right respondent. And at the times, I'll tell you, the majority of the research time, let me put out, almost 40% of your time you spend in data collection only. That's how the research time in schedule is. So at times you get fatigue, and you also compromise with respect to the collection of information and information pooling. So these are a few advantages and disadvantages about questionnaire data. Now, let me get on to the first phase of questionnaire design. As I just shared with you, that there are 3 phases of research design. So one is all about pre-composition phase. I'm sorry that insert the title of your subtitle, I should have deleted. Somehow it is not saved. Fine. Anyway, so the first phase, in the first phase, what a researcher will do is all about, he will start, he has to understand his research objectives thoroughly. So to design a questionnaire, in fact, towards the end of my presentation, I'll be sharing you an instance where we all together develop a a questionnaire, so that you understand what exactly is the challenges in designing a questionnaire and how we can address this. So I request all of you to participate in this. And also there is a Word document, I think PDF document that might have been shared by my colleague Narayan Swami, so which we come across in between, so that we all together design a questionnaire today. So anyway, before we start, before a questionnaire is being designed, what is important for a researcher is all about, he should know what is the purpose with which the instrument is designed. And for that, he should have a very clear idea about what is the research question or a research problem he is addressing. Therefore, the theoretical models or the conceptual models based on which the research framework is developed should be clear to the researcher, so that he understand what is to be placed in a questionnaire, or what is relevant and what is irrelevant. And thereby, the very first phase of in the very first phase, researcher needs to spend some time understanding the conceptual framework of their research and their research questions which is to be addressed by them, and even possible to the extent of the hypothesis, extent of understanding the hypothesis which he is going to justify, or the research what called facts he is trying to measure and prove for himself. And then the other important is all about overview of respondents' characteristics. Well, questionnaire is such kind of instrument. It has to be tuned according to the profile of the respondents. For example, we want to know the what you call for example, the consumer behavior with respect to with respect to a product like ice creams or a chocolates. Now, in such case, our respondents' profile matters a lot in designing a questionnaire. So, for an age group between what called up to 10 years, you should have, or you should think of their designing a questionnaire in such a way that you put up all the cartoons, those icons, etc., that creates more interest among the student, among the children. And then the adulthood, and then the adolescence. So different phases of different categories of respondents you have to classify, and based on the category of the respondents, you must and should design your questionnaire. So this is another important thing which a researcher should keep in mind before he start constructing a questionnaire. And also, a researcher should not confine himself to the what you call the target group or the present customer profile or a respondent's profile. Suppose now I made it for ice cream and chocolate. Tomorrow I can extend the same research, same questionnaire. I should be in a position to move on to the other samples related to measuring people who like biscuits, etc., or some other kind of things, or a replacements or substitutes. Therefore, don't confine yourself to a very rigid way of respondent profiles. You should have a flexibility. Therefore, we also say that understand your probable respondents along with your true respondents. So this actually influences your questionnaire design to a great extent. And the last phase, the last component of the first phase, that is pre-composition phase, is all about which survey technique I use. Anyway, a lot of things were discussed about this. So these three plays an important role. One, specifying, understanding the requirements, then understanding the respondents' characteristics, and the type of survey technique tool which I am going to adapt to collect information forms the first phase of questionnaire design. Now, the second phase is what we call composition phase, or the other part, what we call it as the design or a development stage. So the first one is all about you have to decide based on the first phase whether I need a structured questionnaire or an unstructured questionnaire. Now, that depends upon the kind of information you are digging, and you want to explore the info. You want to explore the respondent. Then unstructured questions are good enough. As I said, creativity, their preferences, their taste, which was not yet explored at all, and you want to explore it more, and the respondent come out more and more with respect to his requirements or needs, what's his perceptions and all. And then that time, unstructured questionnaires are the best questionnaires that can be used. In fact, there are some question marks from some of the scholars saying that how is that we quantify unstructured questionnaires? Now, you have to, again, there is a technique called in which you have to quantify each and every open response. That also we will come across during our case study presentation. And then the structured questions, as you all know, what structured questions are very much confined and very much focused on the research objectives. It may be close-ended or again maybe open-ended questionnaire. Now, decision and questionnaire wording. See, the words that we use in our questionnaire or in a statement, in the question statement, have a significant impact upon the respondents' what we call response. Now, this since I'm not linked it, I'll show it in the next slide. What and all the 10 factors which contributes or which makes the questionnaire wording proper. Now, let me finish the other 6 more steps over in the second phase and go on and get on to that. Now, the other one is all about the question sequencing. Well, this is where majority of our what we call the respondents will not respond truly, right? This plays an important role. As I said, your ability of identifying or differentiating the need of structured and unstructured questions, and then the wording and the words what you use in the sentences in the question framing sentence, and the question sequencing. So there are some people who say that don't put all sensitive or what you call intimidating questions in the beginning, and you put it towards the end of your questionnaire, of the questionnaire what you design. And some say no, you put it in the middle so that it back again, because nowadays time is precious. No respondent has a good time to go through all our 50, 60, 70 items. That is, if you want to measure a behavioral scale, we can design a questionnaire of 50 items, 70 items. It depends on number of variables that are associated with that particular research. Now, in such case, the intimidating or the very crucial information, critical information, what is required, a user may not at all address it. He will address the first 10, 15 questions and he'll be closing it. That's what we'll be doing. Now we can see a lot of mobile pop-ups or our emails where they'll be asking us question. There will be a questionnaire while we'll be addressing. But that we also see that at times we answer and in the middle we get diverted, or our attention need to be focused on some other things. We quit the answering questionnaires. So to avoid such kind of things, again, questionnaires is very much identified that let this be the order of the or the sequence which questionnaire can be or questions can be placed, or items in the sense, I'm sorry, if purely technically speaking, any question that a questionnaire have is called as items. So the items, the way how you place or the order in which the items are placed starts with the screening. So the screening is all about identifying the questions or identifying the items which are critical, which gives us the sensitive information, which are a general, which gives us the general information, and items which are which creates an interest among the respondents to answer. Now, having a classification of questions by the researcher. So first he starts screening, the process of identifying the critical questions, the associated questions, and then the questions of question of validations. All these things he will identify, and at the opening of the questionnaire, normally what happens is we try to capture the demographic data of our respondents, and thereon slowly we get into our concept. Now, when we are designing a questionnaire, please keep in mind, along with what we call the demographic data, it is important for a researcher that he should very clearly mention what is the purpose of administering that questionnaire. So that at least 4 or 5 lines or a paragraph is needed, so that the user understands that, or the respondent understands that, yes, this is what my feelings are with respect to the issue which the researcher is addressing, and then accordingly the answers will prompt us to get us the right information from the respondents. Now, as in when you start, so let me tell you that there are some 4 or 5 variables which you are trying to get an answer to. and in that prioritize them and start introducing one concept or the opening questions in the in the concept or the first 5 or 10 questions, or let us put out like if a questionnaire is having 100 questions, let the first 20% of the opening questions do have a concept, and slowly transform them, or a transition should happen from one concept to the other concept, or the information collection from one variable to the other variable. And then the transition, as the transition happens, the difficulty level or the intimidating level of the respondent keep increasing. And towards the end, let the respondent identify himself with that questionnaire or the instances what is mentioned in the item or the question in the questionnaire. Therefore, he gets more connected, and he reflects more. And having all these things in phase, there is important that among these individual, that is the opening phase, transition, difficulty level, and identifying or reflection levels, there needs a logical flow of what we call the items itself, so that the thought process is not diverted. The thought process is very much logically aligned, so that the respondent, what he comes out will come out truly honestly. So the other point is all about response choices. Well, how many? See, for example, if I'm going with a Likert scale, what should be my the options, or what we call the scale levels? So what? Let me put out like this: any options what you give, it can be of any length. Nobody is going to restrict you, but scientifically it is understood that any responses to a question should be between 5 to 7 alternative responses or a choices what we give it to the user. So this actually makes the user to put himself very effectively to which scale, to which category or to which level of measurement he fits into. So this is nothing but the level of measurement which is we consider for measuring using the choice options. Now the other point, as I was telling you in the previous slides, all about the very important thing is all about the questionnaire layout. How our questionnaire looks like. Is it appealing? Is it pleasing? Or is it creating an excitement? And now if you see your nowadays your Google mails and all, there are some what called tempting mail saying as that, look, if you answer this, you may win a fabulous prizes, putting as a power banks or mobiles, laptops, Apple phones, etc. Now these things are the way how they were trying to push up. And in fact, there are some agencies which are doing this data collection job, and they truly reward you if you are honest and you do a response to them on a regular basis. Anyway, the old form is all about the booklet form of questionnaire, and if it is the form factor, then what is the left margin, right margin, spaces between the questions, what is the color of font, text, etc., etc. All matters with respect to respondent's response. And layouts, that is whether it should be of A4 size or it should be of what called A3 size. No, whatever may be the size, it should fit into the convenience of the respondent. And lastly, it's all nowadays, as I said, artificial intelligence, computers are there. So animation also plays an important role with respect to what we call questionnaire design, creating more enthusiasm for a respondent to answer to our queries. And having done all these 6 steps, the last step, that is a final draft or the first draft questionnaire is ready. So it is here majority of the scholars or the researchers do come out with in a hurry, just moving out for administering the questionnaire. So please recheck it before you start saying that this is the final copy of my questionnaire. Please think about the spellings, the sentence constructions, the alignments, the full stop or the grammar mistakes, and go through it. Please interact with your first draft questionnaire with possible a pilot study, very good, or discuss with the people who are well versed in that particular area, with your guides, with the people of similar knowledge levels, and try to take a feedback from them. and understand where actually the questionnaire needs modifications and other things. So the first draft questionnaire, though it is a draft, it should not be neglected. I'm sorry to say this, since it is a draft, some scholars, they take it easy and they keep a rough, they take a pen that is called handwritten questionnaires, or a questionnaire that is not in a proper format is shared with their guides, asking them to review it and all. Now there itself you will lose. Your guide will take 10-15 days to review it, and you are unnecessarily dragging your time and in between deviations. So even though it is a first draft questionnaire, feel it as it is going to be the final one and start working on it. So this is the second phase of what we call questionnaire development. In this, the second one, questionnaire wording matters a lot. And now the next slide talks to you about how important wording in a questionnaire and what and all you are not supposed to do. So please remember that questionnaire should have a language which is very simple to understand and very simple and easy to understand. So this is and also this questionnaire, the language what you use should exactly reflect, or should actually match the profiles of the individuals or the respondents. You do a survey, and where in the survey you go to a person where he's not highly educated or illiterate, and giving him a questionnaire with a jargon words or a loaded words will certainly affect the way how the response comes. So therefore, please take care that see that your questionnaire is as simple as it is and very easy to understand, and all these, both the language as well as the difficulty level of or perception of your questions should and must be based on your user profiles, not on the researcher's convenience or some other sample or a sample which is not included in your research. So then there are some chances that when we ask a question, we take it, the questionnaire looks very vague and is also ambiguous for some users to answer. You will be saying, let me say like this, you will be asking a questions or using the words which I stated there, very much, reasonably well, less, very less. Now these are the things which are difficult to quantify, and also very difficult for a user to respond, or for a respond to answer this kind of to interpret these kind of words. Say if at all somebody says this product is very much superior than company A or B product, so you are comparing between two companies, that itself you should not mention, or it is not good that you compare between two companies and directly referring their names. That is number one. And this very much means how much, how to quantify. So if this is much inferior, this is much inferior than XYZ, how much is it inferior? And the vehicle is reasonably, or the product is reasonably well. What do you mean by reasonable? How do you quantify? It varies from one individual to the other individual. And also the other example is it is less in efficiency, or very less in efficiency. So these are the words please avoid in your questionnaire when in your item framing while designing a questionnaire. So since these are all very vague and ambiguous, or let me tell you, don't use any adjectives or words which are not commonly perceived by all the individuals or by all the respondents. And then double-barreled questions, that is two questions in a single question. Now that is not at all safe. So let me tell you like this. Yes, I prefer, or yes, it can be like this. Yeah, I prefer going on outing towards the during my weekends with my family and enjoy with my enjoy the what called a kind of dishes or a non-veg dishes, especially very specifically. There are two things included. What the question is asking to my preference of food, and the other one is what do I do towards my weekend. Now these two things one may be liked by one is accepted by the individual, but not. Suppose if I'm a vegetarian, I don't prefer non-veg food towards weekend with my family, then what is that he answers? So like this, we can frame a lot of questions where a user, in order to reduce the number of items in his questionnaire, he will be trying to club two questions, that is indirectly. A question will derive information for two variables, and inferring that is a big challenge. Now, the other point is all about leading and loading questions. Well, leading questions is something which I myself will be directing my respondent in a positive or a negative direction. It is what we call it as a leading questions. Let me put out like this. I'll be saying, or the question or the item in the questionnaire says that automatic cars are much preferred, or automatic cars are more luxurious. No, the luxurious is also not a statement which we can quantify. So therefore, automatic cars performance is better than semi-automatic cars or the manual cars. So these are the two. This is a question where I myself is telling the respondent that look, automatic cars are very comfortable and performance-wise better, and therefore whether he has to say yes or no, or agree, disagree, whatever the scale what we give. Now this is called leading questions, and we should not go on with that kind of leading questions. Please understand this. So a user, in order to know what the preference of a respondent comparing to two products of nature, which is automatic in nature, another one is manual in nature, should be asked without inserting a leading words in that. So that is number one. And number two, the other important thing is all about loading questions. What do you mean by loading questions? Well, I will ask a question in one of a questionnaire to understand the pulse of the respondents or the group of from the population. I'll be asking a question like this. Yes, being a patriot, I always prefer using goods manufactured in my country. Or being an Indian, I always prefer goods manufactured in India, or I always buy goods manufactured in India. So though a respondent is not agreeing with your statement, but that word of patriotism, that is being an Indian, that itself will not allow him to come out truly with his opinion. So that is what we call it as a loading questions. Okay, so being a man, I always object to XYZ. Now that if the respondent is a male guy, certainly he will not respond to the true idea or to the truth what he is about to express. So those things are what we call it as a loading questions. Now in such situations, what kind of questions can be, how the questions can be framed. Now this is called there is a technique called split ballot technique. Split ballot technique is such a thing where this question of leading is back again asked based on the respondents in a positive and negative way. For example, there is a sample of 50. For the first 25, the question is framed positively. For the next 25, the question is framed in a negative way or negatively leading. So accordingly, we'll come out to a situation. But maximum, you have to avoid designing a leading and loading questions. But in case of need, there is a technique called split ball technique, commonly used across to find to extract the information from the respondent. And the other important factor which is to be avoided is all about overstated words. The first part of the sentence leading forced acceptance of the second part of the sentence. As I was revealing the example of automatic cars preferences over semi-automatic or a manual cars, etc. So that there are statements where the first part of the statement certainly makes us to accept the second part of the statement, and such statements all need to be avoided while designing an effective questionnaire so that the respondent feels comfortable answering. Now, the other part of that questionnaire questionnaire wording, or the words what you use in a questionnaire, should not lead a respondent to assume something. It should be very clear, and our questions should be very objective, and it should not be subjective. And once you design like that, then assumptions creep in, and so therefore there should not be no room for any word that is going to create an assumption, a suspicion, or some other things while designing the item for a questionnaire. And then the other important is, normally this kind of questionnaires do have a negative reaction from the respondents. We'll try to ask him a questionnaire like, do you remember the first presentation what you have given it to your fiancé or to your wife, or what is your first branded shirt which you wore? So, the questions that are stimulates, or that is going to put some strain on the on the respondents, where they were not there, where it leads to a irritation for a respondent to check his memory, is not at all good. So we should be very careful with respect to asking questions like that. And generalization. So when you are very specific with respect to your objectives, and that is very specific, and you are extracting information to analyze one research issue, then no question should be generalized. And also, please do take care that the respondent's ability to answer. For example, you are doing a survey on usage of diapers for people more than 60 years of age. And now you designed a fantastic questionnaire which is electronically administered, or where a respondent should use a mobile or an email to respond. Do you think people present in India who are aged more than 60 can have easy access or comfortable accessing electronic gadgets? Certainly not. So please take care of those things before you decide the wordings as well as administering the questionnaire. So, dear friends, so let me conclude the second phase of the questionnaire design, that is the what we call it as the development stage. So we have gone through pre-composition stage and the composition state, and the last one is the third stage is post-composition state. So post-composition state is that stage where after the first draft questionnaire is ready. Now the user or the researcher is getting ready to finalize the draft and start administering. So in such case, the first phase or the first step is pre-testing questionnaire, pre-testing, or let the user or the researcher himself administer and try to check it out. What is the outcome of his questionnaire? Now, the same thing he can do with his peers and also with the people whom he knows and people whom he believes that are a right resource to test the ability of his questionnaire. So this is what we call it as a what we call pre-testing questionnaire, and also at times we call it as a pilot's review or a pilot survey. Pilot testing is right. And then the other part of it, the second part of it, once the feedback and review is clearly taken by you as a researcher, you have to revisit your entire questionnaire, change or modify the questions or the words or sentences, or rearrange the sentences in such a sequence where you feel that the respondent or your instrument will draw the entire information what is expected by you. So this is called proofing, editing, then again what called response measurement. All these things you do with a small number where people or the respondent who are capable of giving you such kind of feedback need to be taken into consideration. And finally, the revised final questionnaire is ready. So you have done a questionnaire and it has gone through all the phases systematically, adapting all the standardized procedures, and the last questionnaire is ready with all the items exactly drawing the information what is needed for your research problem, and to measure your and to verify your hypothesis. Now, these are the three important phases of questionnaire design. And lastly, it comes to administration. All the effort what you did, right from the pre-composition state to the present, what you call designing the final questionnaire, is one phase. The other phase is very important, is administering the questionnaire. It's very, very important. You should be very much be aware what time is the respondent good in mood to answer to your questions, and you have to check for his availability, take a prior appointment and talk to him, call to him, address him, and convince him. See, the biggest challenge in countries like India is we don't get the time of others, and they always look to us at a suspicion, right? What is this user wants to extract from me? What is the benefit this fellow will get out of me? And is there anything that is affecting my privacy? So a lot of things that is normal happens, but yet what in particular in our region, it is difficult for us to convince somebody to address or to answer our questionnaires. So that's a big challenge. Therefore, please keep in mind the time you are, the way how you are approaching, the time which the respondent is responding, and convincing him. All three things matters a lot. And very important, as I was referring to in one of my slides, as fatigueness of collection of data. Well, you try. I'm telling you honestly, looking into the scholars around me, I myself tried for a few things to write a few research papers. 80% of our questionnaires will come and will be unanswered, will not be proper. So if you want to have a sample of 200, please remember you should draw a sample. Your sample or the questionnaire respondents should be more than 1,000 plus. Then only you will get a decent sample somewhere around 250. And thousands are respondents. It's not that much easy to collect, but yet you have to, because you started this research with a noble cause of contributing something to the society. So don't get down, keep working on it, and certainly your efforts will be answered. There are respondents who are very much helpful to you. So have this positive mindset and start. Never ever compromise, because today we have a technology, or the statistical tools is so good developed that with a small sample also you can interpolate it to what you call to a big sample size. But don't get into that kind of what called things, because of time constraints, or your PhD time is getting what called lapsed, or some extension is needed. Don't compromise yourself, because you please remember, value your 3 years of your time, and and you fail to prove what you have what you found to be good, and your theoretical framework or the research framework what you have done is not going to be proved, then it becomes a big flaw. So don't get into that kind of mindset. So if you plan thoroughly and you follow all these steps, having a time plan and administer that in a regular phase, you can easily come out with successful what you call designing a questionnaire and pulling out the information from the respondent what is needed for you. So friends, what I believe is, yes, this is my last slide, and I believe I've given the enough of the basics of questionnaire design. Still, there is a lot of things, but what is more important is, it is important for all of us to practice. So how do we do that? Now, I told you whatever the minimum knowledge what I have, and that is there. And let me tell you, there are good number of resources available on the web, so that it even gives you a better and more clarity than what we have discussed here in detail, each step. And as we keep discussing, this itself will go, questionnaire design itself will go for more than I believe 6 to 7 hours. Well, given a good time for me, I believe I've covered all the important aspects of questionnaire design. So now here is a case study which we all can practice, and we can do it. So also I give you a pass here. Now, my dear friends, I have already given you, I mean, morning we have shared A PDF document may be 1-2 pages. Well, that will give you an input to design a questionnaire. Honestly, I'm telling you, if you put a sincere effort of 10-15 minutes or maximum 25 minutes, I believe you can design a questionnaire of 20 items or 25 items, what not. See, let me tell you, the case is all like this, sir. You are the expert, and you are an expert who was asked by the what you call the Indian cricket team. Yes, I'm sharing the live example with you, who has asked you that look, we have a stalwarts in Indian cricket team, and every individual player is at its top, and he is second to none with respect to what you call their abilities, capabilities, record making, record breakings, etc. But yet, India was finding it difficult to win the World Cup team. I mean to say World Cup. This I'm talking a scenario that is before our MS Dhoni was there, took up charge as a what you call the captain of India. So just imagine that kind of scenario, or a company comes to you and asks you that, look, we understand that there is a lot of conflicts among our team members, which is essential and very much needed when we are working in an organization as a group. But the ability of overcoming the conflict by the team members always leads to success. This is what we believe, and that conceptually, theoretically, this is what everybody agrees. So therefore, our research objective is that to validate and identify whether the individual abilities or capabilities of resolving conflicts among themselves will make a team successful or not. So this is the the broad aerial view of our research or a research problem. And now we try to find out what actually is this conflicts and why it is disturbing team success, though the individuals in the team have a highest potential than anybody else. So therefore, the problem statement which I just made is all about identifying individual conflicts, resolution styles in a team. So what is done, the paper what I have shared with you, the PDF document, will come out with the various conflict resolution mechanism or a style that an individual will adapt in order to resolve his conflicts with his team and go as a good team member or a team player. So that questionnaire will tell you what and all the variables which you are going to measure, or what is the information that your questionnaire should draw in order to get the information to one particular parameter or attribute of that particular research. So if you ask me that this problem, in this particular problem, as a researcher, you have to find out the you have to find out as a researcher, you have to find out what is the individual or each member in a group's conflict resolution styles. So as I told you, the theory says, or the literature review or the conceptual background very clearly states that any individual in a team will possess 5 styles of conflict resolution mechanism in him. And that one is confrontation, the other one is compromise, which both we call it as an approachable way of resolving, and then negotiation, withdrawal, and resignation. So withdrawal and resignation is that kind of the construct or a style where they won't become an effective team player. So my question to you is all about, having given all these two, and the research question which I want to address is, how is that I measure the conflict management styles among the members in the individual group, number one. Number two, how is that the demographic factors influence conflict management styles of the members in the group. For example, somebody, a demographic variable, a player from South India, a player from North India. Now, how is that they manage themselves in order to get together and work for the team? Or how is the height of a person, height of an individual, age of an individual, and the experience behind him with respect to playing that particular cricket game? All these things is what something which I call it as a demographic factor, and how these factors influence a person's ability of matured exhibition of conflict resolution styles, and also identifying, I can make it out that how is that we do this or identify a suitable team composition. So, my dear friends, I'll tell you that this is the real-time case which I am referring to, where I learned and personally experienced with the Pegasus institution, Pegasus Leadership Development Institution in Bangalore. Well, before the first World Cup, not the first World Cup, the World Cup what we won under Dhoni's captaincy, before they move on to the World Cup matches, they were asked or they were trained or they were reviewed like this in the Pegasus Academy of our leadership program, where even I see IBM or big CEOs and all do come over there to tune up their team building skills or team player skills. So the example what I drew from there is what I'm sharing with you all. Now you can just help me out, or you can help yourself designing a question. Now that paper has very clearly stated what and all the 5 important parameters, not the parameters, the variables for which I have to collect the information. So what is that? Each confrontation, compromise, negotiation, what it actually means. And in order to find out that particular attribute or quantify that, what is that I should do, or what kind of question is needed, is what I request you to try now. Or if time permits, if the second resource person is ready, then you can go ahead, but please do it. I'll come back and I'll help you out. Now, till this extent, you have just framed what you call the 50% of your questionnaire design. The other part comes now, the importance of levels of measurement. How is that the response be recorded, and how is that the recorded response be measured? So for that, if you try to answer this question or try to develop a questionnaire for this, certainly yes, when the next speaker talks to you about the measurement levels or the scales, obviously you will be understanding very clearly how is that. Why should I use this? What kind of scale is best suitable here is what you clearly understand. Now, if you develop a scale and share with us, we will share without mentioning your name or any respondent's ID. We will discuss saying that this question has this wonderful quality, hence it is a good questionnaire construct. Or else we can say this questionnaire has a challenge here, and so it can be improved further like this. So in order to enable all of us, including the members of your group, you can design this questionnaire and give a response back. I'll talk to the coordinator who is doing this program just to find out how much time is left out for us to do this what called the questionnaire design. So all that it is needed for you is to just have a paper and pen and the soft copy of the document what is shared. Just go through it and identify these 5 variables. It is very clear and lucidly it is mentioned what is what, and then you start preparing the questions or the items. Yeah, madam.
I'm doing afternoon session before 9 starts already. Yeah.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was not aware of this.
Not an issue.
Right. Yes.
We will complete the session.
So you want me to complete it now?
No, no, sir. You take your times and we can go this question and session. By the time it's released.
Sure. Right. Yes. So sorry, it means I exceeded my time. But anyway, if at all you do this, I believe you will be in a good position to develop any questionnaire and constructs for your research. May be helpful to your peers and to your friends also who are trying to build a questionnaire for their research. So friends, thank you very much for joining me with respect to this questionnaire design, and please kindly share your feedback so that further any improvements on this I do certainly consider, and always be in touch with us. I'll share the best whatever I know for the betterment of the what you call the teaching community and research scholars community. Thank you, and I'll chance, if any chance, I'll come back talking to Naren once again and come out with the possible solutions what we can do. So if at all any time, please kindly make it out, go through the document what I have discussed, and I'll come back and tell you what exactly is the questionnaire and all of it. Thank you very much. Avinash, thank you very much.
Great, sir. Your session was interesting and gave deep knowledge on how to design a questionnaire and the importance of it in research, sir. Sir, truly speaking, it is an honor listening to you, sir. Um,
Oh, thank you.
Sir,
Thank you.
sir, we have few questions, sir. Can we take those questions, sir?
Yes, please.
Sir, we have a question from Sohini Bhattacharya, sir. Sir,
Yeah.
sir, for both qualitative and quantitative research, a pilot study is needed.
Yes, madam. What I always believe is a pilot study is a precursor for any what called a survey or a data collection. So I always believe it. Though qualitatively it varies from one to other, but a researcher will have an understanding about the kind of item what he is going to do. Basically, when we do an interview, it's mostly qualitative, understanding the psychological concepts or the body language of the individual matters a lot. But at the same time, for any kind of research, whether it is qualitative or quantitative, you please make a pilot study, get yourself ready, and then start collecting the data. Yeah.
Sir, we have another question. Thank you, sir. Hope we have answered Sohini Bhattacharya. Sir, we have another question from Dr. B. Gopal Singh. Right.
Yeah.
Sir, please differentiate between schedule and a questionnaire.
Yeah. Well, schedule is that kind of, it's almost, what I can say is there is a big contrast between a questionnaire and a schedule. Schedule is bounded and guided by a set of principles and norms. A questionnaire do have a freedom for both the respondent as well as the researcher to design his constructs or questionnaires. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir Gopal Singh, sir. Hope we have addressed your question, sir. Right, sir. We have another question from Sohini Bhattacharya. The question goes like this. The question is a bit lengthy, sir. If I frame a research content in English language, but if the questions will be framed in both English and Bengali, as it's my mother tongue language, but so that the respondents can easily respond, is this possible? If you kindly repeat split ballot technique, then it will be helpful.
Yes. Madam, the first and important thing is that now the present controversy is what all about this. Using a uniform code of language for designing a questionnaire and using the mother tongue or the what you call respondents language for designing a questionnaire. Now this basically is now coming up with respect to competitive examinations, which is being designed at the national level. Now there is a challenge with respect to the experts. What we are finding it out is that a questionnaire designed in English, if it is translated truly to a mother tongue of a respondent, is not having an equivalent words at majority of the times, or any technical word, it doesn't reflect the equivalent words. Hence, the perception is changing. So what is important for us in order to gather an information, we find that the respondents do use the local language. Let us better design a questionnaire in a local language, and later the conversion should be done professionally through a professional translators to be accepted at the international level. Yeah, Avinash, I believe I have done it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, thank you very much, sir. Madam, we have addressed your question, madam. Sir, we have another question from Albino Thompson. Sir, is it important to have pilot study when you are adopting scale?
Of course, as I just revealed you, that a pilot study is nothing but a rehearsal like before we get into a match, right? So therefore, though it is an adaptive scale, not essentially needed, yet please do a pilot study, but not with a big sample number, but only with 1-2 sample numbers is quite good.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Sir, we have one more last question for this session, sir. That is asked by T.S. Sharma. Sir, do we need to arrange questions in random fashion rather than as per the sequence of what variables we are interested to get over biases?
Sir, certainly don't frame the sequence of a question as per your variables, right? See the flow of the information and the thinking process of the respondent. That's why in the sequence I was telling you that you start up with an opening set of questions, and then with the transition questions, then the difficult level of questions, and then the identity or a reflection questions. So this is a model what we try to put out, but it also depends the number of items in your questionnaire. If the number of items in your questionnaire is less than 20 or 25, certainly yes, you can frame a question in the thought process flow, and no need to follow any kind of sequences, or you can arrange the according to the variables. But if you arrange as per the variables, as you run with your statistical test, your reliability will come down. Now that a statistician or the other people will be telling you out, what I did is only 25% of questionnaire design. And once you understand the levels of measurement, and then you start calculating the reliability of the construct or the item what you have developed, then you will understand how important is sequencing. So very important, the sequencing or the way how we arrange questions depends upon the number of items, and it is very much influenced by the flow of thought process or the thinking process of the respondent, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes. I request
sir,
yes.
Sir, Sohini Bhattacharya is asking to give a brief idea regarding split ballot.
Yes. Anyway, since we are running out of time, the very example what I have given do also include this kind of questionnaire to be question split technique of framing a questionnaire is needed. I believe our organizers will give me a chance, so that we'll come back and look into that. Else, I'll be writing a mail to them and also provide them with additional resources how it can be implemented. Thank you, Avinash.
Yeah. Sir, by this, we are winding up this session, sir. Afternoon, we'll just meet with Narayan Swamy, sir.
Okay.
Question on SPSS, sir.
Sure. So once again, I appeal to all the participants, please try to design your questionnaire, spend hardly 15 to 20 minutes. That is how I framed that concept and the hypothesis, etc. And possible, I'll at least interact with you over mail and try to make clear about how to frame a questionnaire and other things. In fact, my colleague also will share with you the levels of measurement. All these things we'll be covering in a given time. I apologize with the coordinators that I took the entire time of the other resource person also. I regret for that, but kindly excuse it. Thank you, Avinash, to all the participants.
It was great hearing to you, sir. Not an issue, sir. It was worth spending time with you, sir. I believe the same thing with all the participants. Participants will just meet in the afternoon session for hands-on SPSS session. As of now, I'll just conclude this session. Have a great time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.